2017 Saban's Power Rangers. Man, what a movie. I can wholeheartedly say that I had an overall pleasant experience with this film. As a pretty average moviegoer, I don't have much of a history with the Power Rangers, even though they've been around for a very long time. Throughout the years, there have been various different representations of the Power Rangers, and a few movies to go along with it. One that notably stood out to me the most was the latest to hit the big screen. I don't know what it is about me that likes how movies dive into the elements of teamwork and friendship, but it just works and resonates a lot with me. I still remember back in my second year of college, I gathered a few friends to go see this movie, and in the end, if I remember correctly, we came out of it quite pleased. Maybe their perceptions on the movie have changed throughout the years, but that's not the case for me. Don't worry, this isn't one of my typical videos where I bore you with an entire review of the movie. I just wanted to mention the underrated potential this film had. This isn't a movie I hold very dear, it's just one of those things where I feel like, man, I wish I could see a sequel for this. That goes without saying, this movie received a wide amount of mixed reviews. Some people hated it, some people liked the direction it was headed, with a 5.9 out of 10 with IMDb, 2 out of 5 with Empire, and wow, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Perfectly balanced, this whole thing should be.
It was unclear whether this version of the Power Rangers had a future, but from where I'm standing, I feel like it did. For one, it's underrated. I can imagine how hard it could be to modernize a wacky superhero kids show into a movie. It's been attempted a couple of times in the past, but ultimately those movies just didn't do well enough. So fast forward to 2017 and Hollywood's third attempt at a Power Rangers film was released to the world. So first off, the basics. The action, drama, dialogue exchange were all pretty decent. They weren't bad, but they did leave a few things to be desired. The most underrated aspect I think Power Rangers 2017 has going for it is the cast. I think the casting is terrific. They all do a really great job. The loneliness and anxiety experienced by each of the characters perfectly captures how hard it can be to grow up. The fact that the teenagers all come from different backgrounds and are all different races is the cherry on top of the cake. I liked how they kept the consistency of a diverse cast. It worked for the shows, so it wouldn't make sense why they wouldn't do it for the movie. It also adds weight to the fact that anyone, no matter where you come from and what background you may have, can become a Power Ranger. I also really did the origin stories. You can tell the entire cast, crew, and director were all passionate about making this project as amazing as it can be. They perfectly balanced the nostalgia and the building of the characters. Ultimately, I think it's the chemistry the actors have with one another which really made it seal the deal with me. Even if this wasn't titled as a Power Rangers film, it will still work with this cast alone. Lastly, its potential. Now, this is going to sound like I'm contradicting my earlier point, but where I feel like Power Rangers 2017 had the most potential is with the characters, both the Rangers and their alter egos. Now hear me out, everything I said earlier is 100% true, but I also can't help feeling like they could have explored these characters to the fullest. I would have liked to see more bonding between these people. For example, the campfire scene was the perfect opportunity for us to really and truly dive deep and get to relate more to these guys. Although this scene did its job, if I had to grade it, I would give it an A-, solely because it could have used a few extra minutes to get a definitive story out of Kimberly so that the Rangers can understand her hardships, and I feel like they skipped out on that, but that's just a nitpick. With the Rangers, I feel like the effects could use more work, but mainly it took way too long for them to suit up. But the human moments, that's what I really like the most, so I wasn't completely bored and deprived of action. I can see why this movie didn't work for some people due to the modernism take on it, but honestly, I feel like this movie having so many errors leaves room for improvement so that if a sequel were to happen, they can address all the faults and missed opportunities. There is still many stories to tell with this version of the Power Rangers. That's what I personally believe, and some people do as well. But it's just a shame that in today's age with Hollywood, money talks, and if the movie isn't making the sweet dough, then there's a good chance its sequel will never see the light of day. And unfortunately for these Power Rangers, that's the case. So apparently the franchise will be in fact getting a reboot, which honestly is disappointing news. But it seems like the cast is off doing their own thing by the looks of it. Becky G, who played Trini, the Yellow Ranger, it seems like her singing career is skyrocketing, so I highly doubt she would even return to reprise her role if the sequel was even to happen. But hey, what can you do? That's all I really have to say about it. I watched it recently on Netflix and I figured why not, but on a serious note, what do you think? Tell me in the comments below.